Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Immigration Fridays. I'm your host, Prashanthi Reddy, and we're here again to navigate the ever evolving maze of US immigration. This week, let's talk about OPT, Optional Practical Training, which offers an opportunity for international students to work in the US. Let's first discuss the types of OPT. So, you have pre completion OPT. That is, you may participate in pre-completion OPT after you have been lawfully enrolled as a full-time student for a period of one full academic year. You would need to have had F1 status for one full academic year, and you can satisfy this one academic year requirement even if you are not on F1 while you were going to school in the US. Under the pre-completion OPT, you may work for 20 hours or less per week while school is in session, and you may work full-time when school is not in session. Another type of OPT is post-completion OPT. You may apply for this kind of post-completion OPT after you have completed your studies. You're authorized for post-completion OPT. In order to be authorized, you have to work for 20 hours a week at least, or full-time. The 20 hours a week can be without pay. So it can be an unpaid internship. So what's the impact of pre-completion OPT? If you've taken pre-completion OPT and then you want to take post-completion OPT, what is the impact on it? If you've received 1 year of part-time, say 20 hours per week, pre-completion OPT, and you've worked on pre-completion OPT, then if you want to apply for post-completion OPT, you only have the remainder time, which means you'll only have 6 months left on your post-completion OPT. You will not get a year. So that's the impact if you use pre-completion OPT. Another type of OPT is STEM OPT. This is an extension. So if you are an F1 student who received a STEM degree, and if you are employed by a E-Verify employer, and if you've received an initial grant of post-completion OPT employment authorization based on your STEM degree, then you're allowed to file for a 2-year extension, which is called STEM OPT extension. How do you apply for OPT generally? Let's talk about that. You have to request that your designated school official, so the DSO at your academic institution, should recommend you for OPT. And they will recommend you by endorsing your I-20. Once that is done, then you fill out a properly completed I-765 application with the USCIS with all the supporting documentation and the proper fee. And make sure you follow the instructions on the form I-765. When do you apply for OPT? For pre-completion OPT, you must apply after your DSO enters the recommendation for OPT in your CVIS record, so you have to wait for that. And you may apply up to 30 days before you complete a full academic year. Remember, you have to wait for 1 year for pre-completion OPT before you can apply for it. And as long as you do not start OPT employment until you complete the one full academic year, you're fine. So you may apply up to 90 days before you complete your degree, as long as you have not started working before your completion of 1 year. So for pre-completion OPT, wait for your DSO's approval on the CVIS record, and then you may apply 90 days before, and you cannot start working until a full academic year is completed. For initial post-completion OPT, you must apply after your DSO enters a recommendation in your CVIS record and apply within 30 days of the DSO entering the recommendation, and you may apply up to 90 days before completion of your degree, but no later than 60 days after the completion of your degree. So as you see, there's a lot of dates here, and if you need more information on it, I would go to the USCIS website just to make sure you get the days correct. For STEM OPT extension, when do you apply for it? You must apply after your, again, DSO enters the recommendation in the CVIS record. You can apply within 60 days. You must apply within 60 days after your DSO enters this recommendation. and you may apply up to 90 days before your current OPT employment expires. So you see, again, there are a lot of dates, time periods here, and you have to keep track of all of them. And I've noticed that students sometimes don't. Sometimes there's confusion between the DSO and the student. There's delay from the side of the DSO, or the student doesn't realize the actual time periods and the deadlines, and they don't apply on time, and they forfeit the opportunity to be on a STEM OPT or on an OPT. So folks out there, please keep those days in mind. Some crucial points with reference to OPT. Number one, you may not begin your post or pre-completion OPT until you have your approved I-765 and until you have received your actual EAD document. So just if you get an email or you see online that your case is approved, that doesn't allow you to start your OPT. You have to wait for the actual EAD document, physical receipt of the EAD document, so that you can start working, so that your employer can enter your I-9 based on the EAD document, your EAD card. If you file your STEM OPT extension application on time and your OPT period expires, you will get an automatic extension for 180 days. So say you're on your OPT and you apply for STEM OPT extension before your OPT expires. We know processing time on an I-765 takes a long time. So that there is no gap in your employment, USCIS will automatically extend your employment authorization by 180 days. So that's good. If you're transferring to a different school, or if you're beginning studies at a different educational level, say you're going from a master's to a PhD, or you're transferring from one school to another, then your EAD automatically gets cancelled. You can continue to live in the US, continue to be on as long as you maintain your F1 status, but you cannot work on that EAD and you have to maintain status. Working on a terminated EAD means that you're not maintaining status, and this can have serious consequences. Next point, and the last point, is the CAP extension for an F1 student. So in addition to the OPT and STEM extensions, you have to also have something called a CAP extension. So if the student is on OPT or STEM OPT at the time that the H1 was filed, and if they file for an H1 change of status application, then you will get something called CAP, which means that your status automatically extends based on what your status was at the time of filing your H1. That status automatically extends. So if you're on OPT, work authorized, then the work authorization automatically extends until October 1st. So that's it. That's a wrap for Immigration Fridays this week. As you know, immigration laws and processes can be very complex. So if you need any help or any legal advice, please email me, prashanthi@reddyesq.com, or you can call me, 212-354-1010. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. See you next week.